Cancórla, following an LRC hearing on the 3rd of March last, the HSE accepted that Brothers of Charity staff and Ability West staff, social care staff had a legal entitlement to what's called a Twilight premium payment. Now, this money has been paid in arrears paid to staff in Dublin, but the staff in County Roscommon and County Galway are being told that there is no money available to do that. In the context of the Industrial Relations Amendment Bill, can I ask you, Taoiseach, when will we see that bill? And will you use your good offices to ensure that arrears that are due to staff in the west of Ireland are paid to them like their counterparts in Dublin?
Taoiseach.
Yeah, there are two bills here, Deputy. One is in respect of collective bargaining. The other is in respect of the regulatory requirements in respect of REAs, and both of those are expected in this session here. And I'd say that equality should apply across the board.
Minister, first of all, can I thank you for being present in the House to take this important issue. Minister, there's about 400 social care workers in Galway and Roscommon that are owed between them about €7.5 million from the Health Service Executive in unpaid wages stretching back for over a decade. The HSE has acknowledged that it owes the money to the workers and has been directed by the Labour Court to pay its debts. But the HSE is arguing its inability to pay in order to make these payments. Now, the payment in question is the Twilight premium, and it's time and 1/6 for the period of time between 8 p.m. And midnight for social care workers or leaders that work in the Brothers of Charity services in County Roscommon and County Galway and Ability West in County Galway. Now, both of those two sets of staff have secured that payment from the 1st of January of this year. And at a Labour Court hearing on the Labour Relations Commission hearing on the 3rd of March last, the HSE accepted that there was a legal entitlement to pay the money and that there was a liability in relation to historical arrears that were accruing to the social care workers and the leaders, but that they could not and were not in a position to pay those arrears. Now, Galway Roscommon PCCC handed back €6.5 million in relation to the psychiatric services last year. So surely some of that money could have been used to actually pay off these particular arrears. What is really frustrating for the staff involved is that the HSE has paid its own staff that Twilight money and has continued to pay that Twilight premium throughout the last number of years. And recently in Dublin, in agencies such as Home Again Traveller, Families Care and Cottage Home for Little Children, the HSE has actually repaid the arrears to the social care staff involved, and yet while that money is being paid in Dublin, the HSE, the same agency, is refusing to pay the exact same arrears to social care workers and leaders in Galway and Roscommon. I'm asking you, Minister, to intervene here and direct the HSE to actually honour the commitment that has been given, honour the fact that they pay their own staff and have paid their own staff over the years this Twilight premium, that they have paid staff in Dublin in a number of organisations arrears in relation to Twilight premiums that they were due, that the same would apply to staff in Galway and Roscommon, and that they would get their €7.5 million in arrears that they are due, and that would be issued without delay.
Thanks, Deputy. And the Minister has 4 minutes to respond.
I want to thank Deputy Naughten for raising this issue and taking on behalf of Minister Lynch, who's on government business elsewhere. Firstly, I should clarify that this issue concerns conciliation conferences under the aegis of the Labour Relations Commission, not a Labour Court recommendation, as was suggested in the initial text of the question. The unsocial hours premium payments of time and 1/6 are known as Twilight payments. Provision for their payment to nurses was initially introduced in 1999. Access to this premium payment was subsequently extended to other grades of staff, including social care workers. Costs arising from the introduction of these payments were to be met from within agencies' existing allocations. The issues raised in this particular case relates to premium payments to social care workers at a rate of time and a sixth for hours worked after 8 p.m. in the evening until the end of their shift. The matter has recently been subject of conciliation conferences under the aegis of the LRC in October and November of 2014, and the latest engagement occurred on the 3rd of March of this year. The staff concerned are employed by the Brothers of Charity in Galway and Roscommon and the Ability West organisation, which is primarily based in Galway. They are not directly employed by the HSE. At the LRC conciliation conference held on November 27th in 2014, the HSE gave a commitment to actively pursue the provision of resources to agencies concerned in the context of the 2015 estimates process to enable payment of the premium from the 1st of January 2015. I'm informed this has occurred and the payment of Twilight premium has been commenced since the 1st of January in the agencies concerned. There remains a continuing issue of retrospective payment, which the Deputy has mentioned. This is being pursued by the trade union Impact and was the subject matter of the latest LRC engagement on March the 3rd. The agency has indicated that it's not in a position to consider any retrospective payments at this time and advised that it has engaged in a broader national process to determine the overall extent of issues relating to the non-application of Twilight premiums in Section 38 and Section 39 agencies throughout the country. It is expected that this process will be finalised on April the 17th, and the HSE, together with the employers directly involved in Galway Roscommon, have indicated a willingness to return to the LRC at that stage.
Deputy.
And I thank the Minister for his reply. And I note the comments that you've made, Minister, in your response. My difficulty is here, Minister, that in Dublin, in Section 38 and Section 39 organisations, namely the Home Again Traveller, Families Care and Cottage Home for Little Children, arrears have been paid. And my difficulty is that why are we treating staff in Galway and Roscommon differently to staff in Dublin, where the same liability applies, where they hadn't traditionally been getting the Twilight payment, and where the arrears have accrued. Payment is being made to staff in Dublin, payment is not being made to staff in Galway and Roscommon. And I would ask you, Minister, to look at this situation. In fairness to the staff involved, they do a tremendous job, sometimes in very difficult circumstances, and particularly in the last number of years, because of changes both in work practices but also changes in resourcing, and there has been a major shift in relation to how they operate services over the last number of years, that we should try and meet this particular liability, particularly when it is being paid in one part of the country. And I would urge you, Minister, to look again at this issue, try and facilitate a resolution of it, and that by the time the 17th of April comes about, that there is a clear programme put in place to resolve this once and for all.
Look, as I understand, I'm not an expert in this issue by any means, but as I understand it, there are people who are employed by the HSE, and they are direct employees of the Health Service Executive. Separate to that, there are people who work for private companies, or for charities, or for voluntary hospitals, and Section 38 and Section 39 agencies. They are not HSE employees. And those bodies are given money by the HSE on the basis of a service level agreement, and they're supposed to provide that service within the budget allocated to them. So it might be the case that those bodies that you mentioned in Dublin have decided to pay the arrears out of their existing allocations. I don't know that, but that would be my best guess, and for whatever reason the similar agencies in Galway Roscommon have decided not to do that. But that would be my best guess as to why there is a disparity. But certainly this issue will be reconciled and will be resolved, but that will be done through the Labour Relations Commission and the work that is ongoing there, and that's, I think, the best place for it to be resolved.